Being ignored is not a passive act. It is a strategic assassination of your relevance. They don't just fail to see you. They actively look through you, rendering you a ghost at the feast of their attention. You have felt it. That cold, hollow space that opens in your chest when her eyes scan past you as if you were part of the furniture. That's not an oversight. That is a declaration of power. Her power, and your complete lack of it. You were not overlooked. You were deselected, deemed unworthy of a single quantum of her mental energy. She didn't just dismiss you, she executed a flawless maneuver of social extermination, and you stood there, smiling weakly, thanking her for the bullet. Why? Because you believed your desire was a gift. You thought your attention, your interest, your validation were valuable offerings. You were wrong. In the brutal economy of human interaction, open desire is a confession of inferiority. It is the voluntary surrender of your power. You walked into that room, a battlefield disguised with soft lighting and meaningless chatter, and you immediately broadcasted your weakness. Your posture leaned in too far. Your eyes held on a fraction of a second too long. Your laughter was a decibel too eager. You were a walking, talking advertisement of your own need. And she, like a predator sensing a limp in its prey, instinctively understood. She understood that you wanted something from her. Approval, attraction, a moment of her time. And that wanting made you predictable. It made you controllable. It made you utterly, contemptibly boring. You were not a mystery to be solved, but a problem that had already been solved and filed away under irrelevant. The great bleak master of human will, Arthur Schopenhauer, would not have been surprised. He diagnosed this sickness of the soul over a century ago. He saw that human beings are not rational creatures seeking happiness, but are slaves to a blind, insatiable, irrational force he called the will, a relentless striving, a perpetual hunger. To desire is to be in a state of lack. Schopenhauer wrote, "All willing arises from want, therefore from deficiency, and therefore from suffering." You did not approach her as an equal. You approached her as a beggar, suffering from a deficiency only she could remedy, and she treated you accordingly. Picture the moment with perfect, merciless clarity. The sound of ice clinking in glasses. The low thrum of music designed to make people feel more interesting than they are. You see her across the room, the center of a small solar system of orbiting sycophants. You spend 10 minutes rehearsing an opener, a witty line you think is clever. You finally navigate the social minefield and stand before her. You deliver your line. She turns, a polite but vacant smile plastered on her face. Her eyes are not on you. They are on the door, on her friend, on her phone. Anywhere but on the man confessing his own insignificance with every word he speaks. She gives you a one-word answer. The smile doesn't reach her eyes. And then, the final crushing blow. She turns her back to you, mid-sentence, to laugh at a joke told by a man who exudes the one quality you lack: indifference. In that moment, you did not just lose a conversation. You lost a war you didn't even know you were fighting. You were stripped of your social armor, your ego flayed open for everyone to see. The humiliation was a physical thing, a hot flush on your neck, a bitter taste in your mouth. You retreated, not with dignity, but like a beaten dog, your tail between your legs, looking for a dark corner to lick your wounds. This is the cycle of the supplicant. You give your power away by showing your hand, and then you resent the world for taking what you so freely offered. You blame her for being cold. You blame other men for being arrogant. You blame society for being superficial. But the blame lies with your strategy, or rather, your complete lack of one. Schopenhauer understood that the will is intensified by obstacles. The more a thing is denied, the more the irrational striving for it grows. A river dammed builds immense pressure. A desire denied builds immense obsession. You have been doing the opposite. You have been trying to flood her with your availability, your kindness, your attention, hoping to irrigate the dry lands of her interest. Instead, you have created a swamp of neediness in which her attraction has drowned. You have made it too easy. You have removed all tension, all mystery, all challenge. You have become a utility, predictable, available, and therefore utterly without value in the high-stakes game of desire. But what if you could reverse the flow? What if, instead of being the river flowing to her ocean, you became the dam? What if your indifference, your calculated withdrawal, became the very obstacle that inflames her will to a fever pitch? There is a psychological trigger, a dark mechanism buried deep in the human psyche that transforms the hunter into the hunted. It is the art of becoming the void, the vacuum that nature, and human nature, abhors, and feels an overwhelming compulsion to fill. And in the silent, cold space of your strategic absence, her mind will begin to race, her curiosity will ignite, and an obsession will be born from the ashes of her previous contempt. The game is not over. It has simply been played by the wrong rules. Her rules. Now it's time to play by yours. If you are ready to stop being a pawn and start becoming the player who controls the entire board, then your transformation begins now. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and activate all notifications, because you cannot afford to miss a single transmission. Drive your thumb into the like button as a declaration of war against your own weakness. And in the comments below, we want to know what fortress you are broadcasting from. Tell us your city and country, and tell us the name of the invisible enemy, the social dynamic, the personal weakness, the power imbalance that you are committed to conquering. This is not just a channel, it is a training ground for the mind. Your enlistment starts with your declaration in the comments. Let the world know where you stand. The autopsy of your authority begins not with a bang, but with a concession. You believe your decline was a singular, catastrophic event, a massive argument, a betrayal, a final act of disrespect. You are mistaken. Your power did not shatter. It was meticulously dismantled, piece by piece, with your full cooperation. You were the chief architect of your own obsolescence. Let us dissect this process with the cold precision of a surgeon, for you cannot rebuild a fortress until you understand exactly how it was breached. Schopenhauer saw the world as a battleground of competing wills, a relentless, blind striving. Your first mistake was to believe your relationship was a sanctuary from this war. It is not. It is merely its most intimate and ruthless theater. The first phase is always concession. It begins innocently. She wants to watch a movie you have no interest in. You agree. She wants to cancel plans with your friends to see her family. You agree. She criticizes a shirt you like. You stop wearing it. Each of these moments seems trivial, a small price to pay for peace. You call it compromise. You call it being a good guy. The reality is far more brutal. Each concession is a test. She is probing your perimeter, testing the strength of your frame, seeing how far your boundaries will bend before they break. She tested. You yielded. She won. You thought you were buying harmony, but you were selling territory. You were not being kind. You were being weak. You were broadcasting a critical piece of intelligence. Your comfort is less important than hers. Your desires are negotiable. Hers are not. Schopenhauer would say you allowed your will to be subsumed by hers. You voluntarily placed your striving in a subordinate position, and from that moment, you were no longer an equal partner. You were a resource to be managed. This leads directly to the second phase, the loss of control. Having learned that your will is pliable, she begins to exert pressure more deliberately. The tests become more frequent, more demanding. It starts with your time, then your friends, then your ambitions. The weapon of choice is emotional leverage. A sigh, a look of disappointment, the strategic deployment of silence. You start to anticipate these reactions, preemptively altering your behavior to avoid her disapproval. You want to start a new project, but you hesitate, picturing her dismissive response. You want to make a significant purchase, but you flinch, imagining the argument. You are no longer living your life according to your own internal compass. You are living in a state of preemptive surrender, constantly navigating her potential emotional reactions. You have lost control not just of the relationship, but of yourself. Your decisions are no longer your own. They are filtered through a lens of her potential displeasure. Her silence is dominance, not inattention. It is a calculated void designed to make you panic and fill it with apologies and concessions. And you do, every single time. Now you enter the third stage, the pathetic spiral of validation seeking. Your authority is gone. Your control is a memory. All that remains is a gnawing insecurity. You have become a ghost in your own life, and you now need her to tell you that you still exist. Your conversations become a series of covert pleas for approval. Did you have a good time? Was the dinner I cooked okay? Do you still love me? You are no longer a man seeking connection. You are an employee awaiting a performance review. You buy her gifts not out of love, but as a bribe for a moment of warmth. You perform acts of service not from a place of strength, but as a beggar offering scraps in exchange for a smile. This is the stage where you become contemptible, not just to her, but to yourself. Schopenhauer knew that the will, when unfulfilled, leads to suffering. Your will has been twisted into a singular, desperate need for her validation. A thirst that can never be quenched because the source of the water despises you for needing it. She doesn't see a loving partner. she sees a bottomless pit of need. And nothing repels a woman faster than a man who has outsourced his sense of self-worth to her. This addiction to her approval metastasizes into the fourth phase: total, affective dependency. Your emotional state is no longer your own property. It is a direct reflection of her mood. If she is happy, you are granted a temporary reprieve, a fleeting sense of relief. If she is unhappy, your world collapses. Her bad day at work becomes your evening of anxiety. Her vague, passive-aggressive comment ruins your entire weekend. You walk on eggshells, constantly monitoring her tone, her body language, searching for clues to your own permitted emotional state. You have given her the remote control to your soul, and she changes the channel at will. You become a master at apologizing. You apologize for things that are not your fault. You apologize for her feelings. You apologize for the weather. You apologize for existing in a way that momentarily displeases her. When you apologized for something you didn't do, you signed your surrender. You communicated in the clearest possible terms that objective reality is less important than her subjective emotional state. You sacrificed truth itself on the altar of her comfort. There is no coming back from that. You have declared yourself a non-entity. If you recognize the bitter taste of these phases in your own life, if you've ever felt that cold dread when her mood shifts, then it is imperative that you stop what you are doing. This is not a game. This is the slow erasure of your identity. It's time to reclaim your mind. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico. Hit the like button to signal your commitment to this war, and activate all notifications so you are armed for every battle. And now, a critical question for the comments below. What was the first concession you made that you now recognize as a strategic mistake? Name that first surrender, that moment you chose peace over principle. Acknowledge it. Let's map out the enemy's first point of entry. The final, humiliating phase is the breaking of the silence. She has mastered the art of psychological warfare. She can retreat into a cold, impenetrable silence for hours, even days. This is not an absence of communication. It is the most powerful communication of all. It says, "You are so irrelevant that you are not even worthy of my anger. Your existence is contingent on my willingness to acknowledge it. And you, a slave to your need for her validation, cannot bear it. The silence is a vacuum, and your weakness rushes to fill it. You poke, you prod. What's wrong? Are you mad at me? Please, just talk to me. You beg, you plead. You offer apologies for crimes you can't even identify. The moment you beg her to speak, you have lost. You have confirmed that she holds the ultimate power, the power to grant or withhold your reality. She tested you, and you failed. You demonstrated that your need for her engagement is greater than your own self-respect. Schopenhauer would see this as the ultimate expression of a will enslaved. You are not just suffering from a lack of her attention, you are suffering from a complete lack of your own internal foundation. Perhaps you are thinking, this is too harsh. Relationships require compromise. You have to be sensitive to your partner's feelings. This is the comforting lie the supplicant tells himself as he hands over the keys to his kingdom. You mistake strategic submission for sensitivity. You confuse the erosion of your boundaries with the building of a partnership. Let me be clear. A woman is not attracted to a man whose spine is made of jelly. She does not respect a man whose principles are for sale. She may enjoy the comfort and control your weakness provides in the short term, but it will always, inevitably, curdle into contempt. She cannot desire what she does not respect. Your compromises were not gestures of love. They were confessions of fear. Fear of conflict, fear of her disapproval, fear of being alone, and she smells that fear. It is the scent of prey. Look at your life. The fall is not always visible. It happens in the silence, in the hesitation before you speak your mind. It happens in the yes you say when your entire being is screaming no. It happens at work, when you fail to challenge a bad idea for fear of making waves. It happens with friends, when you go along with a plan you hate because you don't want to be the difficult one. The pattern is the same. A slow, steady abdication of your own will in favor of the will of others. You have been trained by society to be accommodating, to be agreeable, to put others first. And for this, you are rewarded with contempt and irrelevance. No one is coming to save you. No one will hand you back your power. You must seize it. The first step is a ruthless diagnosis. You must look at the chain of concessions that led you here, and see it not as a series of unfortunate events, but as a catastrophic failure of strategy. Your strategy. You were not a victim of circumstance. You were a volunteer for subjugation. The good news is that what is learned can be unlearned. The fortress can be rebuilt, but this time it will be built on the cold, hard bedrock of Schopenhauer's realism, the understanding that all of life is a contest of wills. And from this day forward, you will ensure that yours is the one that prevails. There is no going back for the weak. There is only the construction of the new. Let that sentence burn itself into your mind. The man you were, the one who conceded and supplicated, is dead. You will not mourn him. You will not try to salvage his pathetic ruins. You will build his replacement from the ground up, on a foundation of cold, hard, tactical reality. This is not an emotional journey of healing. This is a military campaign to reclaim sovereign territory. Your own mind. Your first commands are simple and absolute. Cut the excess. Install the silence. Control the reaction. Every action from this moment forward is a calculated move on a chessboard where you have just overturned the board and declared a new set of rules. Your rules. The first phase of your reconstruction is the installation of absolute scarcity. You will not fade away. You will not have a talk. You will simply vanish. This is a complete and total withdrawal, executed without warning and without explanation. Block her number. Unfriend and block her on all social media platforms. Erase every digital bridge that connects your world to hers. This is not done out of anger or spite. Those are the emotions of a victim. This is done with the chilling indifference of a god erasing a failed universe. Why is this the first, non-negotiable step? Because you must destroy her certainty. Her greatest source of power over you was her absolute certainty of your availability. She knew you were there. She knew you would respond. She knew your attention was a utility she could tap into at will. By vanishing, you shatter that certainty. You introduce a profound and terrifying variable into her world: your absence. Schopenhauer taught that the will is inflamed by obstacles. For years, you have been a smooth, paved road for her. Today, you become a sheer, unscalable cliff. The sudden, unexplained absence creates a cognitive vacuum. Human nature, and especially a female psyche conditioned to social connection, abhors a vacuum. Her mind will be forced to try and fill it. What happened? Did he find someone else? Is he angry? Is he okay? Notice that for the first time, the questions are about you. Her mental energy, once directed outward at 1,000 trivialities, is now forced to turn inward, to focus on the black hole where you used to be. You are no longer the supplicant begging for a moment of her time. You are the mystery consuming her thoughts. This leads directly to the second mechanism, the imposition of absolute silence. After a period of your absence, it could be days, it could be a week, she will likely attempt to breach your new perimeter. A text from a friend's phone, an email, a call from a blocked number. This is a test. It is a probe sent out from her reality to see if your old reality still exists. Your response is the most powerful weapon in your new arsenal. Nothing. You will not respond. You will not answer. You will not acknowledge the attempt in any way. To respond, even to tell her to leave you alone, is to lose. A response, any response, confirms that her probe found its target. It tells her you are still there, that you are still listening, that her actions can still generate a reaction from you. Silence, however, is a statement of absolute dominance. It communicates that her attempt to engage is so far beneath your new reality that it does not even register. It is the equivalent of an ant trying to get the attention of a star. Her will, which expected to meet a familiar reaction, instead smashes against a wall of pure indifference. This is where obsession is born. The unanswered question, the unsolved mystery, becomes a splinter in the mind. Your silence is not an absence of communication. It is the loudest, clearest communication you can possibly send. It says, "Your power over me is gone. Your relevance to me is zero. Do not reconquer. Replace with a sharper silence." When, and if, you choose to break that silence, you will deploy the third mechanism: minimal and unpredictable interaction. Any contact must be initiated by circumstances you control, or it will be a brief, dispassionate response to an external necessity, a logistical issue that cannot be avoided. The interaction will be a tool, not a connection. It will be short. It will be focused on the necessary information. It will contain zero emotional data. Your tone is not angry. It is not sad. It is not happy. It is neutral. It is the tone of a man discussing a weather report. After the interaction is complete, you disappear again. This is intermittent reinforcement in its most potent form. By providing a brief, unpredictable reward, a moment of your attention, you condition her to crave it. Like a gambler at a slot machine, she will never know when the next payout will come, so she will keep pulling the lever, investing more and more of her emotional energy into the game. You are no longer the predictable utility. You are the jackpot she can't seem to win. You have reversed the flow of power. She is now the one seeking your validation, and you are the one who is in complete control of its supply. Be an absence that carries weight, not a presence that begs. These external tactics are nothing but a hollow performance if they are not backed by the fourth and most crucial mechanism, a total and ruthless focus on building your own hierarchy. The time, energy, and mental bandwidth you once poured into her are now your most valuable resources. You will reinvest them with the discipline of a master strategist into 4 key pillars. First, the physical. You will go to war with your own body. You will forge it in the gym, discipline it with nutrition, and clothe it in a way that signals status and self-respect. Your body is your armor and your billboard. It will broadcast strength before you ever speak a word. Second, the financial. You will become obsessed with your mission, your career, your enterprise. You will attack your work with a singular focus that leaves no room for distraction. Money is not just currency. It is a tool of power, a source of freedom, and an undeniable metric of value in the world. Third, the social. You will cut loose the sycophants and low-value individuals in your circle. You will actively seek out and build connections with men who are stronger, smarter, and more successful than you. Your value is a reflection of your network. Build an empire of allies, not a commune of dependents. Fourth, the symbolic. You will acquire skills that command respect. Learn a language, master an instrument, become a lethal public speaker, cultivate a deep knowledge in a complex field. You must become a man of substance, a man whose value is intrinsic and self-generated, not dependent on the approval of any single person. This internal reconstruction is the true source of your power. The external tactics create the mystery, but it is this internal work that creates the man she will become obsessed with, because you are becoming a man she knows she cannot replace. If you are finally ready to stop being the effect and start being the cause, if you are ready to tear down the shack of your weakness and build a fortress of personal dominion, then your work begins now. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico. Hit the like button as a physical declaration that your old self is dead, and activate all notifications because every video is a blueprint for your new construction. Now, for your first tactical command, in the comments below, declare the one single behavior of the supplicant that you will execute from your life, starting today. Is it the compulsive need to explain yourself? The habit of apologizing for having an opinion? The fear of saying no? Name your weakness, expose it to the light, and declare it terminated. Your public declaration is your first act of war against your own limitations. This entire process is the embodiment of Schopenhauer's bleak wisdom. He wrote, "The cheaper the price at which a man sells himself, the dearer he becomes in his own eyes." For too long, you have sold yourself for the cheap price of a moment of her approval, a fleeting smile, the absence of conflict. You made yourself worthless by offering yourself for free. Now, you will become infinitely expensive. You will become so absorbed in the construction of your own empire, physical, financial, social, and intellectual, that you will not have time to even notice if she is watching, and that is precisely when she will be unable to look away. A man who wants to be loved will be discarded. A man who imposes presence will be feared, and a man who builds a world so compelling that he has no need for hers will be worshipped. You are not trying to win her back. You are making the man she left so obsolete, so pathetic in comparison to what you are becoming, that her memory of him will seem like a dream of a lesser being. The goal is not for her to want you back. The goal is for her to look at you months from now and be terrified by the power she so foolishly threw away, and to know with chilling certainty that she will never, ever be able to get it back. This is not a strategy for reconciliation. This is a strategy for ascension. The time for theory is over. The war for your mind has been fought, the enemy routed, the territory secured. What comes now is not peace, it is dominion. You did not endure this crucible of self-reconstruction to return to the world you left behind. You did it to become the architect of a new one. The question that has been burning in the back of your mind since the beginning, the silent hope you dared not voice, must now be addressed and executed. What happens when she comes back? Because she will come back. The vacuum you created will inevitably pull her toward it. Her curiosity, metastasized into obsession, will compel her to test the walls of your new reality. The hunter, now hunted, will finally appear at your gates. And your response in that moment will determine whether everything you have built was a fortress of true power or a sandcastle of pretense. Let us be clear, her return is not a victory. It is the final test. She will not arrive with a white flag of surrender. She will arrive with a toolkit of her old weapons, refined and retargeted. She will test for jealousy, asking about your new life. She will test for nostalgia, referencing a shared memory. She will test for pity, hinting at her own loneliness. She will test for your old weakness, offering a sliver of the validation you once craved. Every word is a probe, every smile a calculation, every question a key searching for the lock of your former self. She is not seeking reconciliation. She is seeking to re-establish control. She needs to know if the man who begged for her attention still exists somewhere inside the formidable stranger you have become. And you will give her an answer. You will give her the most devastating answer possible: a ghost. When her name appears on your phone, you will feel a flicker of the old electricity. A ghost of the old supplicant will stir in his grave. You will acknowledge it, and then you will let it die. You will wait, not for 3 hours to play a game, but for a day or two, because your time is consumed by your mission. Your response, when it comes, will be a single, polite, logistical sentence. Hope you're well. No questions, no openings. A closed door, politely offered. When you see her in person and she approaches with that carefully crafted smile, you will not be cold. Coldness is an emotional response. It is the inverse of warmth, but it exists on the same spectrum of caring. No, you will be something far more terrifying. You will be neutral. You will greet her with the same mild, detached pleasantry you would offer a cashier at the grocery store. You will be present, but you will be absent. Your eyes will meet hers, but they will not see her. They will see through her, because they are focused on the horizon of your own ambition. You will answer her questions briefly, without detail, and you will not ask any in return. The conversation will die of starvation, and you will be the one who calmly and silently withheld the food. In that moment, she will understand a truth more terrifying than any rejection. It was never about her. Schopenhauer understood that the will is a blind, striving force. Her will is now striving for you, seeking to re-engage, to find a purchase. But your will has been reforged. It is no longer a grasping hand reaching for her, but a pillar of granite upon which you have built your own world. Her striving will break against it. The game board, upon which she was the queen and you were a disposable pawn, has not just been flipped. You have incinerated it. You did not win the game by her rules. You achieved a level of self-generated value that made her game, and her as a player, utterly irrelevant. You are no longer on the board. You are in a different building, playing a different game, for stakes she cannot even comprehend. Her attempts to reconnect are the actions of a ghost, haunting a house whose owner has long since departed, unable to understand why the doors no longer open for her. This is the ultimate vengeance. It is not a dish served cold. It is a universe in which her temperature no longer registers. True power is not the ability to make her regret leaving. It is the ability to not care if she exists. It is the profound, unshakable peace that comes from knowing your value is not derived from her gaze, but forged in the fires of your own discipline, your own mission, your own success. Respect is not requested. It is commanded by the sheer gravitational force of your own world. It is a tax you levy on reality simply by existing within it as a man of substance. You have become the void she tried to make you, but now it is a void of your own making. A black hole of ambition and purpose that consumes all lesser things, and from which no light, especially the pale light of her validation, can escape. The man who was dismissed, overlooked, and rendered invisible is gone forever. In his place stands a monument to his own will. The final chapter is not about her realizing your worth. It's about you realizing she never had the capacity to assign it in the first place. You did not lose her. You outgrew her. If you are ready to abandon the old board and begin building your own empire, then finalize your enlistment. Subscribe to Dominio Psicologico and strike the like button as a seal upon your commitment. Activate every notification, for this is the armory that will supply your ascent. And now, answer this one question in the comments below. Not for us, but for you. What is the name of the empire you will build now that you are free? Give your mission, your purpose, your new life a name. Let that name be the first stone in your new foundation.